I mean, the fact that he's the most normal, I mean, is kind of the the irony. It's kind of funny. I think the most, especially in the beginning, I think, you know, I mean, it's early on, I think, between all the characters and that had been introduced over the course of the seasons, you know, in the years. I think it was interesting that the foundation that, you know, I helped create, you know, from the beginning, you know, kind of has still evolved to be respected and appreciated. And, you know, I think, and from a lot of the fan engagement over this weekend has just been really kind and thoughtful and considerate just about how much they really just loved his appreciation and real true love for Holly, or for Piper, you know. So it's nice, it's flattering. It's just like, it's, you know, maybe she needed more of that in her life than the chaos, you know, the sister drama. Yes, I think 1,000% he would have her. You know, I believe Dan offered a lot of stability, a lot of normalcy out of, but it would have changed the dynamic of the show. It could have changed the dynamic of the relationship with the sisters. And, you know, how would he embrace it, or how would he, like, would it cause more conflict? I mean, there's so many different approaches, and to where coulda, shoulda, woulda. What it could have done to the show, to the characters, you know, the sister relationship, the bond. It, you know, you always need a thorn in the rose bush. Well, it was kind of a singular note. It wasn't like Grey's Anatomy, or it wasn't like a real, like, you know, procedural type of a show, high-end drama. I mean, there was always suspense, you know, in the supernatural world of the demonic, you know, and things moving, you know. That was a fun and game, but that was the demographic I think they were originally intended for, you know, to be magical and sisterhood and you know, so the root of the show was more important than the relationship direction, because they were young still. I mean, I think the sisters, all of them, they were all looking to find love outside of the power of three. You know, they all wanted to have love and happiness and family, you know, and their mother was a key element into their life when she was there, you know, in her spirit, you know, if you will. So I think, did any of the girls ever get married? I think that would have changed, other than maybe Piper and Leo, you know, where they I think they kind of like had a commitment, but they were always challenged. And she had the only one that I think that I can recall that had that kind of relationship, because Phoebe didn't, Prue didn't. They never had longevity.
Okay.
Work in sisterhood. Whew, looking back, you know, it's like just puppy love. It was like, it's like a new beginning that never really ventured into anything of depth. You know, it never was given the ability to mature, to progress, you know. And I was trying to reflect and look back on, like, my experience and being so long ago, but you know, you always hope that they're going to write something in deeper, and that's what I was always longing for on the show. And you know, that wasn't to come to fruition. You know, I was just to play, you know, an arc to disrupt in, you know, her lifestyle, and I think change the course of her, you know, the course of her direction and where that character was going. So it kind of, I mean, it's put a sparkle in her life for a minute, you know, and well, I hope so. I can't say yes or no if it did or not, but you know, it seemed like that they had something that was sweet. It was young. It just never blossomed. Until the truth came out, and then it was like, okay, it's over. Goodbye. You know, where I was at that chapter in my life and where I am now is, I've lived more to experience more. So how I perform and what I do now and the way I approach my craft is much different. And I'm more of a veteran, and I see younger actors that I work with that are just energetic and excited. It's like kid in a candy store. So they're very eager and they want to please. So I always try, if I witness or observe something, I try to help them, and try to get them to be kind to themselves, or, and especially when you're working on a show like, Charmed, which at that time we were shooting like 14, 15-hour days every day. And it would take 7 days for a 1-hour show that was technically 42 minutes. 42 minutes on television because everything else is commercial. And in 42 minutes, it took 7-8 days, and it was also because, you have a lot of technicality with lighting, you're on stage or you're on a location. And so there's a lot of things that you have to think about it. But I mean, where I've matured as an actor, and I've definitely lived more. Now I'm a father of 3 boys. So I think that's definitely helped me have a different point of view, perspective, and, and just focus.
Okay. 7 days is a long time.
It's a long time. I mean, you think about shows like were very popular, like The Pit, which is Noah Wiley procedural medical show. It's high stakes, very high stakes, so what they're doing, and they have to go into boot camps of like learning the medical procedural, like how to sew somebody up, stitch somebody up, how do you do, a tracheotomy, or you have to, how do you resuscitate somebody? I mean, down to the finest things. It's like, I just want to take your pulse, are we doing it right? Does it look authentic enough? Do you want to, oh my God, there's just a different work ethic, if you go into a cop show, you gotta, do you know how to carry a gun? There's a lot of additional work behind the scenes that nobody really understands. So when it comes to witchcraft, and what they were doing, did they have a boot camp of how to do, whatever,
Yeah.
Probably not. So, and it was a young teen, and then it blossomed into something much greater than anybody ever. And then it became a family mother-daughter type show. So it's definitely different. I just want to say thank you so much. It has exceeded every expectation I had anticipated coming abroad to come and visit you, but to meet each and every one of you, and every embrace, every hug, every laugh, every smile. It's very rewarding and a gift that you have shared with us, and that I feel blessed to have put my little thumbprint on what small part I did on the show, but you made me feel on top of the world, and I just want to say thank you.